So here's the scarf we're going to make, and it's a tuck stitch scarf. Started with an E-wrap cast on and 4 rows of stockinette, and then went into the tuck stitch, which makes this pattern on the purl side, and then this is the what would be, no, that's the same. This is what would be the knit side, and as you can see, there are two. This side is sort of kind of interesting, but then this side has a definite pattern to it, and this is after knitting it and steaming it so it lies flat. That makes a nice little scarf. It's a simple beginner's project with no finishing, and it'll teach you some things about tuck stitching. And here's a little more close-up. So the yarn we're going to use is this Patons metallic yarn. I got this at Dollar Tree for $1. They may be hard to find. This is a number 4 weight yarn. You could use a number 3. The gauge isn't totally important. You just want something kind of light and lacy. So I'm going to knit this at tension 7, which is here on my dial. And then I'm going to put my carriage at NN. And then I'm going to take some Crayola washable magic markers to mark the bed. Make sure you get the washable. These say ultra clean, washable, ultra lavable, Crayola. When you write, I'm going to be marking which needles I'm going to pull out. So when you put that on the bed, it'll make a mark, but then you can wipe it right off with a wet paper towel. But I wound my yarn into a cake. If you try to get it off the skein, it won't feed right, so you need to wind it in a cake with a yarn winder. I'm also going to be using some claw weights and a double eye transfer tool or a darning needle. So right now I'm threading the carriage. So I'm going to select needles from the left at 14, which is there, and to the right at 15. Bring those all to position E. And I've got my carriage set at NN on both sides. You probably can't see the other side. And then I'm going to E-wrap the needles, which means I go between the first and second needle, come around, second and third and fourth, and each time I'm catching it with my thumb and holding it down so that I get some tension, but I'm doing the E-wrapping fairly loosely so that the first pass will go through. If you do it too tight, it's very difficult to set the carriage across. So I'm going to keep them, I'm on tension 7, and I'm going to go across. Got my row counter at 0. Go across once, and the first row may be a little bit difficult. Make sure everything knits off. So for your second row, you want to hold your fingers under the knitting and pull the needles back out. Sometimes it's easier to just do it like that without but you want your knitting back on the bed like that. And this is just going to help you do the second row. And for the third row, we'll do it one more time. We're just pulling the needles out and keeping the knitting back along the bed. 3. And now we've got enough yarn going that we can hang the weights. I'm going to hang on the edges. Those are the most important. And then I'm going to hang in the middle and go up to row 4. And that time I didn't have to pull the needles out because I've got some weight pulling it down. Now, our first of all, we're going to set the carriage to hold on both sides. So that's an H and an H on the other side. Then we're going to pull out, we're going to use this side of the pusher, which goes every 6th needle. So there's 5 in the middle. And then I'm going to mark that side with my purple Crayola so that I remember to use that side. And I'm going to have 2 needles on each end of it and bring forward that first bunch. And now I'm going to mark these with the purple again. I'm going to mark the ones I pulled out so that the next time when we're doing the pattern, it'll be very apparent which ones I want. So now I'm going to do 4 rows. 1, 2, and what's happening is the yarn is tucking over the needles. It's just laying over the needles and not knitting through on the ones we've pulled to position E. 3, 4. So we've done 4 stitches. Now we want these stitches to knit off, and then we're going to have the ones in the middle tuck. So we'll put, if we push these all the way back to working position, the yarn's going to fall off. So we're going to push them back to upper working position, which is this little, it's position C. And there's a little, or actually it's position D on this machine. There's a little oval there, so make sure your needle is somewhere within that row. And then we will pull out of these groups of 5, we'll pull out the middle needle. So now what's going to happen when we knit 4 rows again is these will knit, and then they will go back there for the next passes, and then these are going to tuck. But now we're going to mark those as well so we remember. So we're going to do those in orange. 3, 4. So next time we do, we'll know exactly which ones to pull out next time. So we're going to do 4 more rows. So 1, and see what happened. This tucked and those knit back. So I'm creating a little pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're getting our little pattern going, and as you can maybe see, then we've got 4 stitches tucked on that row. I'm trying to get it so you can see the knitting. It's a little difficult to see, but there it is. So now we want these to knit off, and then the opposite ones in the middle of the groups of 5, which were marked with the purple, we want those to tuck. So remember, we're using this side, the one we marked. We're pushing those back to position D, which is upper working position, and then we're bringing up the purples all the way to E. So the orange ones are going to knit off. The purple ones, which are in position E, which is hold, are going to tuck. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. And so if you ever get lost, if you're on a multiple of 4, you've done your 4 rows. So you just have to get it a rhythm and keep doing them the same way. So push back the purple needles, go in the middle groups of 5, push out the orange needles, and do 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to push back the orange, Push out the purple to hold. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we'll keep doing this until we run out of yarn. We're actually not going to run out of yarn. We want to make sure we keep some to do the 4 rows at the end and then cast off. If you do this with 1 ball of yarn, you get sort of a shorter little scarf. If you can do 2 balls of yarn and make something longer. So I'm going to do the rest of this off camera, and then when I get to the end, I'll come back. But we'll do 4 more rows just to show you one more time. So we're pushing back the purple, pulling out the orange. And you should be moving your weights up fairly regularly. So that tuck needs a lot of weight so that it doesn't fall off. You want to keep hanging your weights so that it doesn't fall off. And then we're at 24, a multiple of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so on. And I'll be back. So here I am at the end. I've got enough yarn maybe to do 4 more rows, I hope. If not, I've got another ball. But I was trying to finish this with 1 ball. As you can see, I've got this kind of long thing here. And here's what your pattern looks like. Carriage back to N on both sides. So I'm at N, 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 N. I'm going to do 4 more rows. Now these needles that are still out to hold, which were my last ones I tucked, are going to automatically knit back now because I'm at normal. So I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. And so the back stitch bind off goes like this. Thread your needle. I'm using a double-eyed transfer tool, but you can use a darning needle. Go in through the back of the first stitch. Pull your thread. Then go again through the back of the second stitch. And now come through the front of the first one. Now go through the back of the third stitch. So we're skipping the second. Come through, then go through the front of the second. So then going through the back of the next one. And the front of the one behind it. So the back of the next one. And the front of the one behind. So we're skipping one, going through the back. We'll go through the front of the one right behind it. We're going through the back of the next one. Through the front of the one behind. Now we're coming up to the end. So we'll keep going. And when you get to the last one, you're going here, and this is your last one. Cut my tail a little too short. So you go, I'm through the last one, then go through the second behind that, and then back through the last one again. And then you can go back through it again and just tie it off.